former Burisma board member and Hunter Biden business partner Devon Archer appearing before the House Oversight Committee yesterday. He told lawmakers that Hunter put his dad, then VP Joe Biden, on speakerphone while meeting with business partners at least 20 times, describing how Joe was put on the phone to sell, quote, the brand. Oversight Chair James Comer saying the president was the brand and, quote, that Archer admitted that Burisma would have gone out of business if the brand had not been attached to it. Congressman Andy Biggs sat in on that interview. Here's what he had to say. Listen.
Do you think the president of the United States is compromised based on Archer's testimony?
I think so. Archer talked about the big guy and how Hunter Biden always said we need to talk to my guy. We need to see when my guy's going to be here and those types of things.
Do you think today's testimony made it more likely that the president should be impeached?
I think we should do an impeachment inquiry.
Archer also telling lawmakers Hunter and Burisma executives called D.C. in 2015 to ask for help to fire the Ukrainian prosecutor investigating the firm. Joining me now is former U.S. Attorney General Matt Whitaker. Matt, good morning to you. And, you know, the Wall Street Journal also points out really quick here that all of this, what we heard yesterday, what they heard, we don't have the transcript, what they heard, runs against President Biden's claims he never discussed any of his business dealings, his son's business dealings with him. That they know, oh, church and state, that was completely separate. Then why would he be on the phone 20 times?
Yeah, good morning, and it's good to be with you. You're absolutely right. I mean, I think what we're learning is, you know, for political expediency during the campaign, Joe Biden said, I never talked to my son about business. And that has continued to erode to now it's to the point where he had dinner at Cafe Milano in Washington, D.C. with the widow of the former mayor of Moscow, a billionaire who ultimately, and this is Joe Biden and Hunter Biden had dinner with her, and she ultimately paid $3.5 million to Hunter Biden. And where did that money go? We don't know. But ultimately, when Russian sanctions came out, guess who was not on that list? This person. And so these are the kinds of transactions that I think Congress is looking into that for some reason, the mainstream media just has no curiosity to actually explore what was going on at the time, not only with Joe Biden as vice president, but also, you know, ultimately in the post-presidency years.
President Biden has bragged about getting rid of this Ukrainian prosecutor. Listen to what he said. I want to get your reaction.
I said, you're not getting the billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, what, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
To be clear, that was between his time in office of being vice president and president. Your reaction?
Yeah, well, the act he's describing, though, to your point, was while he was vice president and was in the Ukraine. You know, I think there is something that Devon Archer said in this testimony yesterday that cuts that right to the core, and that is he said that there was a time. Devon Archer said there was a time they had a board meeting for Burisma in Dubai. Hunter and the two principals, Ukrainian folks, went out of the room to discuss and allegedly call Joe Biden on the phone to talk about this prosecutor, Victor Shulkin. And obviously Burisma was under investigation, and that it was a problem for Burisma as they tried to expand and grow their company. And so it appears to me that money was exchanged and Hunter Biden was involved in one of the biggest, corruption scandals in American history. This is extraordinary that, you know, this quid pro quo, this idea that somehow American aid to Ukraine could be tied to Hunter Biden's business dealings is just something like we've never seen before.
Well, and, you know, and also to be clear, on the other side of this, let's remember this sweetheart deal that Hunter Biden had gotten from federal prosecutors on the tax charges and the gun charge until a judge blew that up. You know, now you've got House Republicans launching an investigation into the DOJ's decision to sign off on that plea deal again, which the judge blew up. They're asking Attorney General Merrick Garland for more information after she rejected that deal last week. She said this is not standard. I think there's more to it than that. But, I mean, basically, he would have had immunity in perpetuity for anything. And that would have been his relationships overseas, dealings with foreign entities, all of that. And the judge, I think rightly so, said, wait a minute.
Yeah, and this, I mean, the point is this was unprecedented. You know, I'd spoken several times about how, as a U.S. attorney, I would have laughed this plea deal out of my office because this is something like the DOJ would never do. And again, only Hunter Biden can get this deal. Even the judge asked the government, have you ever done a deal like this? And they could not think of a single example where a deal of this sort was done on these types of charges. And remember, the most serious tax charges have expired because of the statute of limitations, which is a shame, demonstrates to me that DOJ was in collusion with Hunter Biden's defense counsel to keep him out of serious trouble. But, you know, we have this Foreign Agent Registration Act that no one, no legal expert on the left especially, has been able to explain how Hunter Biden was not doing Foreign Agent Registration Act work and how he should have not registered. I mean, I think that's going to be a very important piece of this investigation as it moves forward.
And now they want to look into that. Former Congressman Doug Collins is on set with me.
Hey, Matt, good morning. You know, one of the things that's being talked about, doesn't it seem like deja vu when we're talking about this, call into the Ukraine, especially what Biden's role is? Now it's coming full circle, and we have dealt with that before. But one of the things that came out yesterday is now Congressman Dan Goldman is actually out there saying, oh, it's just about weather and pleasantries. They didn't talk about it. And then they talked about the brand. And I know this is sort of comical for those of us who've been dealing with this for a long time, but Hunter Biden was not the brand. Joe Biden was the brand. And the real issue here is the access that Hunter Biden, who had no experience, could actually touch his phone and call dad. That's what we're seeing here, and I think they're trying to, that's the part that to me that struck yesterday the most about who's actually the brand here.
No, you're right, Doug, and it's good to see you, my friend. The brand is a very interesting concept because ultimately this was Hunter Biden's favorite way to close these deals, is to demonstrate that he could immediately get his dad on the phone. And, you know, I'm telling you, there's at least 2 dinners, Doug, that have been described, and they must have been the most boring dinners if all they talked about was the weather. Because, you know, it just doesn't, again, they just don't pass the smell test. We know exactly what was happening here, and they're going to hold on to this tiny little piece of land that they're trying to defend. But at the end of the day, they just need to come clean. Joe Biden needs to explain to the American people why he wasn't truthful in the 2020 election cycle, why he has not been truthful going forward. And I think the White House has a real mess on their hands right now that ultimately could politically jeopardize it.
And we have to run, but, you know, I'm glad you brought this up because, you know, James Comer did say yesterday that Archer did tell the committee that Joe Biden attended these other business meetings in person in Beijing and in Washington.
Yep.
So it wasn't about the weather. I'm pretty clear. All right, Matt Whitaker, thank you very much. It's good to see you.